समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
To be joined by Dr. Gregory Nemyria, who is the first Deputy Chairman, the Parliament of Ukraine. Thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us.
My pleasure.
So 3 years have ended today, and this was a war that everybody thought will go on only for 3 days or 5 days, and Ukrainians have been fighting for the last 3 years. And now the 4th year has started. There must be immense war fatigue in Ukraine. How would you help us understand that?
Those days are different from the day one of the war. And if something bad, and the war is not just bad, it's horrible, taking place for 3 years, fatigue probably is the mildest word you could use. People are tired. Some of them left the country, and when I say some of them, it's 6.5 million, according to the UN figures, left the country and find a refuge in the mostly European countries. Some of them are currently living in the occupied territories. But we have no choice, because this is the war. What is at stake is survival of Ukraine. It means survival of Ukraine, survival of our families, survival of our place where we were born and we are living. So that's why we do have fatigue, but it's not something that make us less committed to continue to fight.
Gregory, this is something that we try to understand in different parts of India. As you know, that the political opinion in India, I mean, we have taken a neutral stand in the war because of our old relationship with Russia. But at the same time, we've been following the war with keen interest. And this is not a war that started in 2022. The special military operation started in 2022. I think the war started in 2014. So you've been fighting a war that goes back a decade. And what I also now wish to understand from you is that in the last so many years, it's been a war of technological innovation. We have seen how both sides, especially Ukraine, because the asymmetry was so huge, has innovated in the field of drones, your successes in the Black Sea. But at the same time, when it comes to the land battle, do you feel the pressure building up?
Yeah, there are two questions in one. As far as the first question is concerned, you're right. This war is lasting already for 10 years. Of this 10 years, 3 years is the high-intensity, full-scale war. But before that, it was what the military analysts called the low-intensity war that has started with annexation of Crimea and occupation of part of Donbass, which is my homeland. And at that time, it's constituted 7% of the territories. Now we're talking about more than 20% of the Ukrainian territories that's occupied. It's like for people to have any comparable understanding, what does it mean? It's like 3 Switzerlands or 4 Belgiums. So it's kind of this situation that we are living through. And in 2008, when I was a deputy prime minister, the war in Georgia started when the Russian Federation attacked Georgia. So at that time, Prime Minister sent me, Yulia Tymoshenko sent me as a governmental envoy to Tbilisi. I arrived there when the war still continued, and Russian tanks were 25 kilometers from Tbilisi, the capital city of Georgia. When I was leaving, I was asked, Mr. Nemyria, do you think that Russia could attack and invade Ukraine, as you've seen happening now in Georgia? And I said, no, I don't think that's going to happen. Because we are both Slavic nations. There is no territorial disputes. We have a major treaty signed. And at that time, we already had security guarantees that Ukraine received from the United States, United Kingdom, and the Russian Federation, when Ukraine voluntarily gave up third largest nuclear arsenal in the world, larger than Chinese, UK, and France all together. But then it's happened.
Well, and you're referring here to the Budapest Memorandum, of course, of 1994, and then there was a treaty followed, the Budapest Memorandum in 1997, and at both these places, there was this guarantee given to your territorial integrity, which unfortunately did not last. Now, that brings me to where we are right now. Right now, there is Donald Trump. Donald Trump has suddenly made it the best case scenario for Russians because he's not only made it clear that there is no NATO membership for Ukraine, there's no territory coming back either. But not just that, he's actually suddenly started to legitimize the war, which probably has been the most shocking thing for Europeans. So I've been speaking to Europeans all day here. So on security guarantees, I mean, just now there is a session going on what those security guarantees are. It's the NATO membership is not on the table. Where do you think a realistic equilibrium will arrive?
First of all, as far as the question on Donald Trump, so it would be premature, I believe, at this point to make an opinion about what would happen or would not happen under his second presidency. But what we could refer to is what he's done in the course of his first presidency. And I would like to remind that it was him who first provided Ukraine a lethal defensive weapons, namely javelins, anti-tank weapons that made a crucial role and played a crucial role when the Russian tanks approached Kyiv. So, and also he called for the hardest possible sanctions against the Nord Stream 2, the Russian gas pipeline from Russia to Europe. So there are some deliverables, facts on the ground that we believe also should not make us outright pessimists. So, but as far as the security guarantees is concerned, if you look deeper in the history of military alliances or bilateral arrangements, so far the only real, or at least they're perceived as real security guarantees, is Article 5 of NATO, which apparently it was not the case that the United States government, the previous one, was supportive, despite the fact that in 2008 it was the US government who pushed for membership action plan for Ukraine. Right. So, but if this is not on the table or may not be on the table, are there any alternatives? I wouldn't say that will be the same security guarantees, but there will be some security guarantees that are coming closer to the NATO 5. First of all, there should not be any cap on the size of the Ukraine's armed forces. Okay. Secondly, there should not be any limits on the type of the weaponry, both defensive and for aimed for attacking of the Ukrainian armed forces. And there should not be also any limits for any bilateral or multilateral security arrangements that Ukraine may sign with the other countries, those who are willing, like Baltic countries, like some of our immediate neighbors, or the United Kingdom, that express their willingness to this option as a realistic one. So this type of security guarantees that Ukraine would be very keen to get, because without such security guarantees element, no peace deal could be sustainable and would not bring a comprehensive peaceful solution.
Since you mentioned about the deal, there is something which has got the global attention, which is the deal on minerals, the rare earth between United States and Ukraine, something for which Keith Kellogg was in Kyiv a couple of days ago. And he tried, to build some kind of a quid pro quo. But President Zelensky was not happy with that. If I got the former Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, right in the morning, I think he was very, very pushy when it came to asserting that minerals deal could be your ticket to American continued assistance. Then why do you think President Zelensky is taking so long?
And Boris Johnson reminded us all that until year 2006, the United Kingdom still continued to pay back of the land lease of that. So it's a good to know. I think many people didn't know that. But again, as neither you nor me haven't yet seen the deal. Okay. As far as the raw materials memorandum of understanding or agreement. So it would be not very correct from my standpoint to comment on something that I haven't seen. Okay. However, I think very important element of any potential would be deal on the raw material, that it should be part of the security guarantees. So in theory, any strategic foreign direct investments is good for the country because it brings national interest of that country to defend the country where you're investing a significant amount of money. But again, we always know that the devil's in the detail.
Yes, I heard the Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, saying the same thing a little while ago. But just help me understand one more thing before we wrap this up. But Prime Minister Keir Starmer, also Macron, President Macron, they have been very, I would say, from India's perspective, I mean, it sounds very unrealistic when they say that they are willing to send the troops on the ground. Do you think Europe is ready to send troops on the ground in Ukraine?
I believe Macron said this not several times already.
Yes.
Keir Starmer confirmed this.
Yes.
And we're also now awaiting affirmation of the new German government.
Yes,
But if
Merz,
you, with Friedrich Merz of the CDU, becoming the chancellor, so he was the most supportive German politician so far.
Yes.
So I think when we have on board the strongest European country, as we take just France and Germany, but also UK, you add to this UK, I think it gives you a very good combination. Of course, it's always the rule should apply, trust, but verify. So we will believe when we'll see it.
Okay.
And again, whatever role there's going to be, whether it will be limited to the technical expert, to some training facilities, or it will be combat-ready contingents that would be placed somewhere closer to the front line, remains to be seen. But I believe Europe understands that now, while we are not yet at the point of decoupling of the United States from Europe, it is a Europe hour.
Yeah.
I think what we're hearing here, it's a Europe hour. And Ukraine is part of Europe. So the Europe's hour means Ukraine's hour.
Well, yeah, there was some constructive discussion in the morning as well about how Europe can really help, which was about helping with achieving some kind of air superiority, etc. But of course, time will unravel that. My last question to you, Gregory, would be, hypothetically speaking, if America were to cut off its military assistance tomorrow, please help me understand, do the Ukrainians still have the motivation to go on fighting? Because I do understand they are not just fighting for territory, they are not fighting for NATO, they are fighting for dignity. It's something which is not understood very well.
I have a rule, I'm not answering hypothetical questions, but if you would insist, I would start from whether it would be in the national interest of the United States to cut military support and other types of support so far. I don't think that it's going to be in the interest of the United States, because one of the important part of perception of the still United States as a global power, so it's that they are defending and they're projecting their power outside. So in this case, if the United States government is not planning to undermine this reputation, this perception of the United States in the global arena, I don't think they will do this. So therefore, an upcoming answer, but to nobody believed that Ukraine would stand for more than 3 days, week maximum. I was observing how embassy by embassy were leaving their premises and headquarters from Kyiv, empty Kyiv, no foreigners almost left. And we stood and we prevented Russians to occupy Kyiv. So that means that, and that's not just the, first of all, service of our armed forces and soldiers, but it shows you how strong the fabric of the Ukrainian society are. Okay. That's the war for us to win, not to lose.
Okay. Just before I let you go, you've been very generous with the time and your comments. What would you like to say to India? You know, India has been neutral in this war. India has also offered innovative solutions when our Foreign Affairs Minister was here, last year. What would you like to say to the Indian audiences that are watching you now?
I think, dear Indian friends, we appreciate very much your position as a peace-loving nation. And when your leader, Prime Minister Modi, visited Ukraine last year, that was a very important part of his message, that India supports the UN Charter and within the UN Charter principle of the territorial integrity and no use of force or threat of force for economic, political, or any other reasons. So this position of the principle, and we believe that India when we come closer to the final stage, achieving the sustainable peace, we'll be on board together with Ukraine, together with other peace-loving nations, because what happening in Ukraine is not would just have an impact to Europe, it will have impact also on the Indo-Pacific region, and India as a rising power has all potential to contribute constructively to the end of this war, stopping these horrible disasters that are happening every day already for more than 3 years.
On that note, Gregory Nemyria, it was a pleasure speaking to you and an honor having you on The Print. Thank you.
Thank you.